When we talk about mafia culture, it's common to think of the Italian crime families. These groups are notorious for mafia tradition, exquisite style, and building criminal empires. But the world of organized crime has a global reach. There are several lesser-known organized crime syndicates that have just as much power and influence. Organizations like the Yakuza, Triads, and the Russian Mafia have a deep history within their regions. In today's video, we're going to delve into the background of how these crime syndicates formed and became as powerful as they are today. We'll uncover their traditions, global reach, and the criminal activities that helped them build an empire. Let's uncover a world of secret criminal culture. The Yakuza, Japan's shadowy syndicate. One of the most complex gangs is the Yakuza. This Japanese organized crime syndicate has a history that dates back over 400 years. Through crime and business, it has become one of the most powerful groups in the nation. Even though it is involved in the criminal underworld, the Yakuza also makes a huge impact on Japan's society. First, let's go back to the beginning. The history of the Yakuza starts with a group known as the Burakumin. The Burakumin were considered the lowest of the low when it came to social class in Japan. The rest of society wanted nothing to do with these people. The Burakumin were more than just outcasts. They were considered the unclean people of Japanese society. This reputation beheld them because they worked with death. After all, the Burakumin was made up of undertakers, executioners, butchers, and leather workers. This group of people knew what it was like to be isolated from the communities they lived in. Things were never really good for them throughout history, but the year things took a drastic toll was 1603. In this year, a formal law was passed that officially isolated the Burakumin from the rest of society. This law forced many of them out of the city and even went as far as to deny their children education. Now, the sons of the Burakumin group were faced with the dilemma. If they followed in their father's career footsteps, they would face the discrimination they've witnessed their entire lives. Since they were denied an education, their options were limited. For many of the young men, the only other profitable option was the life of organized crime. But back then, organized crime wasn't what it was in the 20th century. The operations were smaller but profitable enough to put food on the table. These crime groups engaged in activities like peddling stolen goods and organizing illegal gambling operations in abandoned buildings. But with enough time and experience, these peddlers and gambling operators began growing their operations. This led to organized games forming and trading protection for profit. From here, the Yakuza began. Over the years, the criminal activities of this gang grew. As they navigated through the opportunities of organized crime, their profits grew. Similar to the Italian Mafia, the Yakuza was divided into gangs with leaders. The Japanese rulers recognized each leader and gave him a sword. The members of the Yakuza ended up being a lot more profitable than their fathers of the Burakumin. Although they weren't involved in honest work, they were gaining respect from others in society. This organized crime gang has a mafia code in common with the Italian Mafia. Members of the Yakuza must follow strict codes for silence, loyalty, and obedience. So, what would happen if a member betrayed the Yakuza? Well, unlike the Italian Mafia, these members wouldn't find themselves at the end of a hit. However, they would suffer a punishment that would make them weaker. A disloyal gang member would have the tip of their pinky finger cut off. Each time a gang member betrayed the Yakuza, they would get another cut to the finger. Ultimately, the cuts would make it difficult for the offending member to grip their sword. They wouldn't be as strong as a fighter, therefore relying completely on the gang they betrayed for protection. Yakuza members must follow traditions of loyalty through tattoos. When a member is brought into the gang, they must be willing to tattoo their entire body, including their genitals. This is a very slow and painful process. The gang doesn't use modern tattoo guns for these designs. Instead, they use a sharpened piece of bamboo to complete these tattoos. The gang has come a long way since the days of peddling stolen goods. The criminal empire has expanded, mostly working drug trades, prostitution rings, and extortion. It's believed that all of the illegal drugs in Japan go through the Yakuza. There is also belief that the criminal group is involved in human trafficking. Allegedly, they lure young women from other countries, like the Philippines and South America, to Japan with promises of an exciting new career. But these unsuspecting women end up trapped in a foreign country and forced into a life of prostitution. Crime brings money into the Yakuza, but this gang isn't run by evil monsters. The gang has used its profits to give back to Japan. Most notable has been its humanitarian efforts. In 2011, tsunamis and earthquakes shattered the region. When help was needed, it wasn't the government that came to the rescue. Instead, it was the Yakuza. They provided food, blankets, and other necessities to help the community. When it comes to the good deeds this gang does, they believe it's exactly what they stand for. The Yakuza was originally formed by people who had nothing and were outcasted from society. They know what it's like to suffer. That's why they are quick to send in relief and help others who are suffering. The Triads, China's secret society. The Triads dominate the Chinese criminal underworld. They can be compared to the Italian Mafia in the sense that they are made of several organized gangs. However, their operation is much looser. Members on the lower end of the hierarchy are able to engage in criminal activities without having to secure permission from higher-ups first. Triad society dates back to the 17th century. The secret society was initially founded to overthrow the Qing dynasty and restore the Ming dynasty. As the organization progressed, rules within were established. This included central control over criminal activities, oaths, secret codes, and rituals. One area where the Triads differ greatly from the Italian Mafia is the profits. Individual Triad groups get to keep the profits from their criminal activities, unlike the Italian Mafia, where the organization takes a cut. When it comes to the Triads as an organization, there are approximately 50 gangs. However, there are 4 major gangs that keep the organization running: Wo Hop To, Wo Xing Wo, Sun Yian, 14K. Now, the Triads may be a Chinese organization, but they have worldwide reach. For example, the Wo Hop To is based in Hong Kong and also has a strong influence in San Francisco. Wo Xing Wo also has a strong dominance in Hong Kong, but they were initially from Chinatown in Toronto. Sun Yian is believed to have the highest number of members at approximately 55,000. They have influence in several parts of the world, including China, France, and Belgium. Post-World War II, the Triads were at their most powerful. They were able to source a lot of members from Hong Kong. At the time, there were roughly 3 million residents in Hong Kong, and 1 out of every 6 people was affiliated with the secret society. But the economy of Hong Kong changed rapidly, offering more white-collar employment opportunities. Fewer residents were turning to organized crime to make ends meet. Now, Hong Kong has an approximate population that surpasses 7 million, and the number of Triads members has decreased to roughly 100,000. Recruitment strategies for Triads are also very different from those of the Italian Mafia. In order to join the Italian Mafia, a person has to be sponsored by a made man. If they aren't related to or closely affiliated with an already established member, it's next to impossible to get on the inside. The Triads take a much different approach. They look for young teenagers to join the gang. This consists of primarily underprivileged kids or students who have dropped out of school. Younger people are willing to join because they see gangs as a way to seek protection from bullies, escape a rough home life, and get access to drugs and alcohol. Established gang members see these kids as the prime target because youth face more lenient sanctions if they get caught by the police. This was shown in 2013 when an undercover operation busted 16 youths, with the youngest of the bunch being only 13 years old. Bringing in young gang members has given the Triads an edge on their criminal activities. They are more adaptive to the new age technology and use it to their advantage. However, the gangs have always been adaptive to what brings in the profits. For example, these modern Triads are more likely to smuggle exotic seafood than narcotics and cigarettes. Smuggling immigrants is also a big operation within the Triads. They smuggle people from all over the world to join the gangs. Many of these people owe debts to the Triads, so they enter the gangs to work off the debts. It's estimated that there are at least 100,000 illegal immigrants in the US alone working for the Triads. The Russian Mafia, from the shadows of the USSR. The Russian Mafia is known as Bratva. This is a network of criminal groups who have similar goals and follow the same structure. Now, organized crime in Russia can be traced back to the Russian Empire, but the Russian Mafia didn't emerge as leaders until the crumble of the Soviet Union in 1991. From that point in history, Russia's criminal underworld became one of the most dangerous crime syndicates worldwide. There are various ranks within the Russian Mafia. Opushine refers to the lowest-ranking members. Muzhiki refers to those who were imprisoned but did not consider themselves a part of the crime syndicate. Blatny were members who were dedicated to the criminal lifestyle. Avtoriteri is a term used for the higher-ups. These members hold a lot of influence, and they are typically engaged in both criminal activities and legitimate business operations. The highest level ranking in the Bratva is called Vori Vizakonye, which translates to thieves-in-law. When compared to the Italian and American mafias, the Russian mafia has more power within the business world. This is one of the key ways the crime organization became so powerful within a short amount of time. In a few years, they were able to progress to a level that took the Italian mafia decades. However, the Russian mafia did have an advantage compared to other crime syndicates. It's believed that they have state protection. The mafia has been linked to several big businesses in Russia, and all of these businesses must have government approval to operate. Since the Russian mafia is involved in both street crimes and white-collar crimes, it has been able to expand its reach globally. Russian Mafia groups aren't limited to former Soviet republics. There are gangs in many parts of the world, including North America, Europe, the Middle East, and other regions. The criminal operations of these gangs will depend on what area they are working from. Gangs in Germany are known for auto theft rings, while human trafficking is more prevalent in the UK. Other global mafia organizations, unveiling the lesser-known players. There are several lesser-known players that make a big impact on the global organized crime scale. Colombian drug cartels are responsible for massive shipments of narcotics worldwide. The Medellin cartel was founded by Pablo Escobar and became one of the most notorious drug operations. They were active from the mid-1970s to the 1990s. During their peak, they supplied roughly 80% of the world's cocaine supply. The Cali cartel and Norte de Valle cartel also helped shape the global drug market. Today, the most powerful Colombian cartel is the Gulf Clan cartel, known as AGC. This cartel is involved in a wide range of criminal activities and has a very tight grip on their power. The Nigerian crime syndicates are also very powerful in the drug trade. It is believed that they bring high amounts of cocaine and other narcotics into the UK. They have been able to expand their operations throughout multiple continents. However, it's not just the drug trade that Nigerian crews are involved in. These gangs have been linked to other serious crimes, like child trafficking and political infiltration. Crime syndicates are outlawed in Nigeria. However, one of the most powerful groups, the Black Axe, has been able to keep its empire going on an international scale. This group has scammed people out of billions of dollars. They have been linked to numerous violent attacks and have brought the mafia into politics to secure votes. We can't forget about the Albanian Mafia either. They have been hailed as the kings of cocaine. While these groups only make up 0.8% of organized crime groups, they have a lot of power within the cocaine trade. While there is no legitimate evidence that connects the Albanian Mafia to the drug market, there is speculation that they negotiate with the Colombian cartels to get the shipments and then traffic the drugs to several European countries. What's the most alarming about the Albanian Mafia is their connections to human trafficking. Similar to Yakuza groups, they would lure victims with offers of a new career, but the women would then be kidnapped to work in the prostitution rings. All of the crime syndicates worldwide, no matter their size, have a direct impact on society. Human trafficking has become one of the biggest concerns, as it's used to exploit vulnerable people. Drug trafficking operations can contribute to problems with addiction and other health scares. Mafia and gang violence can also become a problem that affects communities. Disputes that turn deadly have taken the lives of innocent people. This wraps up our video on the global mafia. The world of organized crime spans far past the Italian families. As we delve deeper into the criminal underworld, it takes us on a global trip around the world. From the misfits of Japan forming the Yakuza to the Russian Mafia gangs taking full power after the Soviet Union, crime syndicates go further than we could have imagined. Which group do you think has made the biggest impact on organized crime? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for sticking with us to the end. We have more Mafia Mystique content to come. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe to see more.